Thank you. So, unlike, so I'm going to borrow something from what Parth said. We have a slightly different view on the 3M to 3V. So we agree, but it's actually 3M to 3Vs plus an M. Voice, video, vernacular, and MX. Moving on to this, since we're the new kid on the block, we're not Modi ji, we're not Bajaj, we're not Google, we're not Spotify. I thought I'd just take 30 seconds to tell you a little bit of who we are. I got the world in my pocket, so it's so it seems. So as Punita mentioned, MX is all about scale. You saw up there that we have more than 275 million monthly active users. The time spent on the platform globally is in the range of about 120 billion minutes a month on consuming video. Obviously, we have launched streaming in India, which is starting to now become a very big part of that. But globally, it's over 120 billion minutes. So a very, very large audience that we have. I want to talk about one of the campaigns we did that I thought would be interesting for this audience. It's about a show that I hope all of you have watched. It's called Thinkistan. And it is actually about the ad industry. So everyone here actually should be a character in there somewhere. So you definitely should watch this if you have not. Marketers and advertisers, this is meant for you. But we did something very interesting with this. This was a show that was aimed at a slightly more tier 1 audience. So we wanted to figure out how to actually get to the tier 2 audiences that we thought would be also interested in this, in this show. And it is basically about how advertising started to move away from what, as Partha pointed out earlier, was the South Bombay mentality into advertising for everybody else. And around when this show had come out, we basically saw a lot of, this was during the elections, we saw a lot of action happening around India and Bharat. In fact, at the end of this election, a lot of people, all the analysis and sort of punditry that was done at the end of it led to this big sort of, question mark of, did Bharat win this election? India was completely blindsided by how this happened. So this is something that we picked up on, and we actually started going after the Hindi versus English divide in India. Obviously, Hindi and English was, a campaign promise. It's regional versus English. But this is something that we actually did a lot of interesting stuff around. And then, you can see up there was a Kamal Hoya Haath as a very shameless plug that we tried to do out there. But essentially, divided by languages, united by ideas was another sort of campaign that we brought out around then, and basically took around this peg of Hindi versus English, Bharat versus India, which was something that we thought was very, very interesting around this time of elections. And this worked. We had our reach and sort of engagement metrics on all of this on this campaign was very high. Social media obviously is where this became most useful for us, and a lot of the memes and virality that were generated were done on that. One additional point on this, for the marketers in here, honestly, no matter what, and sorry to the agencies for this, no matter what your agencies tell you, no one really has quite cracked how to do viral stuff. So if you see something going viral, in the environment in general, latch onto it. You will usually get a little bit of uplift from that. We got a lot. Moving on to what we're inspired by. All of you, I'm assuming, watched the World Cup on a platform I shall not name. But you also all remember Charulata Patel. So I think this was something that our team was very, very inspired by, where Pepsi picked up on this very interesting phenomenon that occurred towards the end of the World Cup. and they basically made her a brand ambassador. Pepsi has been known for decades for being young and hip, and they've gone and picked up an 87-year-old Gujarati lady from the UK and made her a brand ambassador, and then they rode this wave all over social media, which again goes back to our earlier point saying that look, there was something that they found, something that they caught on to, and they really made hay during this process. So I think again a very, very good example of how you can ride on the environment to make a large impact for your brand. Our learnings. I'm going to talk about three sort of basic areas of learning that I think have been useful, and I'm going to say it from the lens of OTT, which is the industry we're in. One, target. I think this is something that digital has known, everyone's known about digital for a long time, but I still believe that it is not quite seeped into the sort of ground level of how marketers and agencies are thinking, at least that's what we see. So target. There are lots of audiences out here. We have a lot of them on our platform, and and obviously other platforms out here, Google of course being the big daddy of them all. But target, use all the data that all of us are collecting to actually go after the audiences that you want. The second point that I'm actually going to make sounds counterintuitive to what I just said, but use OTT to build your brand. Don't think too much about frequency and CTRs and bounce rates and all of this. Remember, a lot of people who are coming onto OTT, for them this is their first real exposure to advertising. These are people who sometimes have not had TVs. These are not people who've been exposed to desktop and mobile internet, M-Web and desktop, with all of us have been, interacting with for over a decade now. So when you just think about these audiences in a manner that you're getting to them, build reach, get your brand out there. Don't get too bogged down in the metrics of how this is performing. That will come later. There are metro audiences and audiences that you have out there that should be targeted in that manner, but a very, very large swathe of people coming on board on digital and through OTT, because that is the language that they understand. They don't read, they don't, maybe they don't listen too much, but certainly they watch a lot of video. So that's the second big thing. The third big thing is about consolidation. And I don't mean this about, someone mentioned, I think Amarjit mentioned 32 OTT platforms. I think that will also happen over some time. But I think this is more about consolidation of your brand. So today, MX, as an example, we started off as an offline player. We've introduced, OTT. We introduced a music tab on it. We have Ghana, which is a sister company of ours on there. And what we're now doing is we're extending this. And the theory here, this is the big East versus West divide that comes up about, one app versus multiple apps. And I think that in societies that are low trust, where society is not quite gotten used to, trusting the larger ecosystem, and I think India is one of those, I think brands matter a lot. So extend digital brands into multiple things. The way we're doing it is that we're, of course, introducing gaming, we're introducing a reward system, we're using coins, and through this, as we think of more interesting ideas, we'll get more and more stuff out into MX. This is also something that, if you look further east, China has done very, very successfully. Today, WeChat is, of course, started off as a chat app, but today is essentially the mother app for a whole suite of services. Alibaba has extended its brand into all kinds of stuff, not just online, but offline as well. Ping An Insurance, which is a massive insurance giant in China, has actually started using its brand to offer health services. So it goes beyond digital, but I think that in digital, especially given that friction in distribution is very low, I would very much encourage everyone out here, brands, agencies, to think deeply about how they can extend that. That's all from me. Thank you.